Welcome to Are You Quizzing Me? I am Vineet Nair with my co host Aditya Kashyap. This is a quizzing trivia podcast show. Join us as we dive deep into history, science, pop culture, and so much more. Let's get quizzing. And we're back for episode number 56 of Are You Quizzing Me? Your favorite quizzing and trivia podcast show. Let's get down to business. Last week, Aditya had asked us a question. So, Aditya, what was your silly question for last week and what's your answer?
The question from last week was if an Indian airline had to honor a famous Indian celebrity couple, which airline number or flight number would they choose to do it with? My answer turns out to be very simple, and the answer is 77. Do you know why, Vineet?
No, and I'm a little afraid to ask why.
Well, you don't have to because I'm going to tell you the answer anyways. I'm going to talk about a couple not in the traditional sense of a romantic couple, but a couple that has created some very iconic pieces of work in Bollywood, and that is Suraj Barjatia
Oh, God.
and his muse, Salman Khan. And what is a movie that you associate very strongly with them? A very iconic film. That would be Hum Saath Saath Hai. And Hum Saath Saath Hai is 7-7.
Oh, God.
So
Oh, God.
that is how you would honor Suraj Barjatia and Salman Khan's lovely couple or pair, or well, however they identify.
For those of in our audience who are wondering why I'm in pain all of a sudden, Saath in Hindi can mean the number 7 and also mean the word together. So, Aditya has just made a horrible, horrible pun on a frankly very candy floss vanilla family movie by the name of We're All Together or Hum Saath Saath Hai in Hindi. I hope at least by explaining this joke or pun rather that it will take the pain out of it for those listeners who are listening to it.
I would like to point out two things. Firstly, you corrected yourself when you said joke and you downgraded it to a non joke pun. Wow, that's a bit hurtful. And secondly, by translating this, I think you're just including more people in the misery. At least those who had not understood it initially were oblivious to how painful it could have been. So take some of the blame, Vineet. Honestly, take some of the blame.
I don't know what I'm going to do with you. Oh god. Now that we've got that out of the way, and like Aditya explained in last week's episode, let me do the same. This is not indicative of how the rest of the podcast goes. So stay with us if you've stayed here so long. So before we go to the regular questions that we ask each other, there is the audience question which I ask at the beginning of the episode, and the answer of which I will reveal at the end of today's episode. The Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya is situated in the sprawling campus of an academy, let's call that Academy X, at Lalbagh, Vadodara. The original academy was founded in 1930 in Dehradun and then shifted to Vadodara in 1952. The property comprises of 55 acres of garden and wooded land enlivened by the calls of peacocks and migratory birds. This university, which I mentioned, the Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya, is located, as I mentioned, in a particular academy campus. Which academy are we talking about? What is unique about it? And what connects it to this podcast? That is the audience question that I am asking today. And I will reveal the answer at the end of today's episode. So let's get down to business. Let's start with Aditya. What's your question, or first serious question for today?
I have a really fun question from a piece of trivia that might not necessarily be factual, but is an urban legend. Let's go to the era of American independence. George Washington had gained fame not only obviously in America, but across the world as a pretty strong and influential leader. To honor him, Thomas Jefferson commissioned a statue which can still be seen in the Virginia State Capitol building in Richmond. 25 casts of the statue were made and spread all over the world, from the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C., to Lima in Peru, and also London. However, there was something unique about the statue in London. Do you want to venture a guess as to what small change was done to that specific statue?
So I am going to guess that it has to something to do with the royal family. I don't think there's any other particular reason why a federalist like a Washington statue would be changed. I'm guessing it has something to do with the royal family. It's something to placate the royal family.
No. Actually, this has nothing to do with the royal family at all.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is Washington on a horse?
All of the statues are similar, so there is nothing specific about.
No, I'm asking the statue, the original statue, was that of Washington on a horse,
Oh, okay. No, it is not on a horse. It is of Washington standing upright, and all of the statues are the same. Yeah.
except for the one in London.
The London one, at least in appearance, is the same, if that makes a difference.
Oh. Or all the other statues solid while this one's hollow and they've put something in it?
No. But you are close in the sense that it has something to do with its construction rather than its appearance.
Okay. Is it made of a different material? The others were cast out of bronze, and this is done because of something, maybe because of World War II and material shortages or something like that. I'm grasping at straws here, if it isn't already apparent to the audience.
No, it doesn't have anything to do with material shortage. However, I would say you are warm since you are talking about a very small change in terms of a specific material that was used. So it isn't a different material to save money or any of those reasons. A very small change in the material that was used. I am being slightly vague right now,
Yes, I can.
hoping you'll get the answer with even these vague hints.
Okay, I'm gonna go with something straight out of left field. Did they use a different shade of paint or something so that birds don't shit on the statue?
Interestingly enough, the statues are differently colored in different places.
Okay.
So they all of these statues across the world might be made of different material as well. But it isn't the difference in London that I'm looking at, because based off of some of the visuals that I have seen, Washington statue, which is outside the National Gallery in London, is black in color, whereas there is another one that I'm seeing, and I believe this is the Virginia State Capitol one, which is white in color. So all of these might be made from slightly different materials, but the cast of it is the same. Like the appearance of Washington is the exact same pose as in. And I'm not talking about the material that has been used in all of these, because they're all across the world made of different materials, perhaps.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
Let me give you a little bit of a hint.
Okay.
This has something to do with a vow that Washington made during his own lifetime.
I shall not tell a lie.
Yeah, I think that is associated with Washington, but no, not the vow that we are concerned with.
Wait, there was something regarding him and a cherry tree, right?
Yes, which is why I said urban legend when this question began. The cherry tree thing is very well documented. This particular vow is sort of an urban legend, and hence the change in the statue also is not exactly very well documented in history.
No, I'm trying to think up of urban legends of Washington. The only other one that comes to mind is this legend I heard that at least people thought that he had his dentures made up of hippopotamus teeth or something, but it was wooden teeth. No, people thought it was wooden teeth, but it was actually hippopotamus teeth. I don't think that's going to make a big difference in the statue.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't think they use hippopotamus teeth in statues either ways. Okay, I'm going to give you one more hint. It might not be a famous urban legend associated with Washington,
Okay.
but it is something very strongly to do with American independence and obviously who they were gaining independence from. And a vow he took, which is geographical in nature, if that helps.
Is this something like I'm never going to face the East, or I'm never going to face the king, or something like that?
You are very close. It has less to do with where he would be facing, but more to do with where he would be present. So you're very close to getting the wow, which would help you get the answer. Not where I would never face, but where would I never be ever again, or where would I never set foot again?
Okay, so he vowed never to set foot on British soil. So when they made the statue, they ensured there was American soil at the bottom, so that he's technically on American soil.
Oh, lovely. That was a very quick crack from that vow to the statue. Yes, it is exactly that. He vowed, allegedly, to never set foot on British soil ever again in the course of the American War for Independence. And the erectors of the Trafalgar Square statue laid it on a foundation of Virginia soil to
Uh-huh.
ensure that Washington did not tell a lie, which also goes back to what you said about not lying. So, yeah, this is how the statue in Trafalgar Square, London, is different from the others across the world.
Very nice, very nice. So I'm going to move to a slightly different field. So this word did not appear in Webster's dictionary as late as 1957. By the time of the Renaissance, the origin of the word was already in doubt, and early linguists were attempting to guess its derivation by making combinations which meant painful numbers. Now, some speculated that it was named after a king of the castle, but now we know that it has been correctly attributed to a native of a region which is located in the Amu River basin just south of the Aral Sea. And something that's very, very relevant today. This word is practically thrown out almost every day. You'd hear this word on almost an every daily basis. So which word are we talking about?
I am so lost right now. Wait, the word has something to do with a number?
Yes, with numbers. Let's say numbers, mathematics in general.
Okay, so not a specific number. It is used very commonly today.
Yes. And though there have been a lot of speculations and combinations and people trying to figure out where the word came from, it has now been correctly attributed to the native of a region located in the Amu River basin just south of the Aral Sea.
A native of the Amu region.
One particular area, one particular place.
Okay. I'm just going to quickly verify. The Aral Sea is in Central Asia, yes?
Yes, this is in Asia, Middle East, somewhere around that.
Okay. Huh. And there's a number associated with it.
Not a number. Let's say this is a word which is associated with numbers. It's a part of mathematics. And nowadays you would hear it in other contexts as well. But it originally came from numbers. And this word itself was derived from the name of this person from this particular area.
So it is the name of a specific person.
Yes. It's the name of a specific person. You can just give me the name of the word, or if you're hard enough, even you can give me the name of the person.
Is it algorithm?
Yes, it is algorithm. Do you know who it was named after and which place we're talking about?
So I think the reason I got thrown off was because of the geography clue. Because I do know this piece of trivia. I know it is Al Khwarizmi.
Yes.
I just didn't know that this has something to do with the geography or
Yeah, so Khwarizm is a place. So the name of the person is Abd Allah Muhammad ibn Musa al Khwarizmi, which basically means father of Abdullah, Muhammad, son of Moses, native of Khwarizm. So al Khwarizmi gave rise to algorithm.
do you know the other word that Al Khwarizmi's work gave rise to, which is also very commonly used in mathematics?
Algebra, I think it is.
Yeah, which comes from Al Jabr, which was the book of calculation written by Al Khwarizmi or collected or collated by Al Khwarizmi. You added on to a trivia I already knew. I like that.
Very nice. Okay, hit me with your question.
Okay. I'm going to list a few things. Tell me what connects all of them.
Oh, I hate these.
Yes, you should. Because this one, I hope, is not going to be too easy.
Okay.
National Museum of Natural History in Washington, D.C., IKEA stores, the board game Risk, 2014 Nuclear Security Summit, United Nations office at Geneva in Switzerland, newspaper Daily Mail. So, what connects these things? And it is a non exhaustive list.
Okay, just go through that list again. We're talking about the National History Museum. Then,
Let me quickly go through them again. National Museum of Natural History in Washington, D.C., IKEA stores, the board game Risk, 2014 Nuclear Security Summit, United Nations office at Geneva in Switzerland, the newspaper Daily Mail.
is this an architect who connects all of these?
No,
Okay, no. Is it 2014 Nuclear Summit? Something to do with naming conventions, like names of towns or something like that?
nothing to do with that. No.
Okay. I'm stumped. Do you have a clue for me?
It is related to a specific country.
Whoa. Specific country related. Now, do I go keep naming countries or try to figure out another way on this?
If you do that alphabetically, it'll take some time.
Oh, so I'm guessing it's the latter or something. So let's go with Vanuatu, Vatican City.
Even reverse alphabetical won't be very quick.
Okay, so somewhere it's somewhere in the middle. Huh. Madagascar.
I'm hoping you won't arrive at the answer via this method, but you are correct. It is somewhere in
In
that
the
range
middle.
of
Okay.
letters.
Okay. But I'm just trying to guess what the Natural History Museum. Why would the Natural History Museum be there? And IKEA. Wow, what's the funder that could explain put all of these together? Wow, no man, I'm completely stumped.
I don't know if this will be a clue, but well associated factoid, I guess. There is a community on Tumblr as well as on Reddit dedicated to finding even more examples of this across the world. And they keep coming up with new and new examples all the time.
There are communities for everything on Reddit.
That's true.
It's like if
That
there is
is,
if there is even the slightest bit of subculture anywhere, smallest subculture anywhere in the world, they have a subreddit. So that particularly does not help.
here's where I make a little plug to anybody who listens to our podcast regularly. Please go ahead and create a Are You Quizzing Me subreddit. It would be a massive milestone for my life if I had a subreddit for something I have created. You know what? I'm just going to do it one of these days myself.
Okay. Oh god. So it's something that people search. Is this something to do with that game? What do you call it? Geo guessing, geocaching. What do they call it?
GeoGuessr.
Yeah. Is it something to do with that?
No, it isn't a GeoGuessr. And here's a pop culture recommendation, I guess. If you haven't played the game GeoGuessr, please go check it out. Really fun game.
Okay, just run me through the list again. Let me see if something cracks now.
All right, I'm going to try one more time. National Museum of Natural History, Washington, D.C., IKEA stores, the board game Risk, 2014 Nuclear Security Summit, United Nations office at Geneva in Switzerland, and the newspaper Daily Mail. I'm going to go one step further and I'm going to tell you It has something to do with the maps at all of these places.
The maps at all of these places. Wow. I'm blanking completely.
The answer was a country.
The answer was a country. Wait, is this something because suddenly when you said that map and a country, something popped up in my head was a West Wing episode where President Bartlett gets his historical map of the Middle East and Palestine. And he's told that he cannot put it up at the White House because it technically does not show Israel, even though it's from the 1800s. And when he tries to argue that Israel did not, as a country, did not exist at the point, people were like, yes, we understand that, but you still cannot put that map up. So is it something like that where there is a specific geographical feature that's missing from a map or that's there on the map or something like that?
Vineet, in 18th century, there were a lot of countries that did not exist, and you could have used any other example. You chose to use Israel and Palestine. I just asked people to create a subreddit for our show, and you want it to be cancelled in the very next breath.
No, you will have to blame Aaron Sorkin for that because he wrote such a compelling show that I still remember episodes of it so many years later. So it's the West Wing. It had nothing to do with what's currently going on. I'm just remembering an episode that aired like 20 years ago. Okay. So, wow. Dude, I'm blank. I am blank. I don't think I'm going to get this. You will have to put me out of my misery.
I'm going to give you one last hint. And if you don't get it at that point, I will let you know the answer. And the hint I'm going to give you is something is missing from all of these maps. A specific country is missing from all of these maps.
Okay. Specific country is missing from a map that was there at the 2014 nuclear summit. Oh, I know. The United States of Kailasa.
Oh, throwback to a fun episode. Please go hear that as well.
And it's technically not a wrong answer because none of these maps have the United States of Kailasa on it. I have corrected, yes.
You could strong arm me into accepting that answer, but it doesn't fit the.
Yeah, I know.
This is a recognized country that all of us acknowledge is a country and not something that somebody just came up with one fine day. It is an island nation,
It is an island nation.
well, or a few islands.
Okay. But why would that kind of map be in IKEA and the 2014 nuclear summit?
IKEA was just selling world maps, and it was a world map available across IKEA stores. And this particular world map did not have the said country,
Wow.
which would be an easy country to omit from a world map. Vineet, take a guess.
The Maldives.
Sure, but the Maldives are small enough to.
Okay. A lot of island countries actually. Vanuatu, the Micronesian Islands, Solomon Islands, Turks and Caicos.
All of those are obviously island nations, which are probably omitted from a lot of world maps. But no, what is an island nation that is firstly a quote unquote first world country that would fuss about these things, and B is sizable enough because a lot of these island nations that you mentioned are very small, and on a small representation on a small map, they would not be visible.
So, first world country that's an island. First thing that comes to mind is, of course, the British Isles.
No. British Isles, again, tough to omit from a map.
Wait, is this New Zealand?
New Zealand is the answer. Well done. It
That is
is.
so random. Why do these maps not have New Zealand?
New Zealand has often been omitted from maps of the world, and this has caught the attention
What?
of New Zealanders because the Mercator projection, which is the map projection used very commonly for putting the world or the globe onto a flat surface, the Mercator projection centers Europe. So hence, it is difficult to forget the British Isles, say, or Greenland for that matter. Greenland is featured very
Depicted to be as huge,
prominently.
yeah.
But you might forget New Zealand because it is tucked away in one corner, right next to Australia, and hence very often forgotten on world maps. So, interestingly enough, the National Museum of Natural History, IKEA stores, which used to sell a bunch of these maps, the board games risk, and actually even the board game pandemic. Both of these do not have New Zealand on its maps. The 2014 Nuclear Security Summit, in which, by the way, Prime Minister of New Zealand, then Prime Minister John Key, also participated. The world map seal at the UN office at Geneva.
You kidding me? Seriously?
In the magazine Forbes, it hasn't been there at some point. At the Pyongyang International Airport in North Korea, where they have a big map at the airport, they do not have New Zealand over there. It was also excluded from maps promoting the 2015 Rugby World Cup.
Wow, the Rugby World
And
Cup.
interestingly enough, New Zealand was the world champion.
The All Blacks were removed from the. Oh my god, that is just wow.
And the last one on that list is Flat Earth Society. The Flat Earth Society also forgot them on the world map.
Okay, I did not know this was a thing. Wow,
Yeah.
New Zealand has been forgotten.
Related one is in maps of Australia where Tasmania is missing very often.
Ah, yeah, Tasmania is easy to overlook.
Yeah. And of course, there are examples of other significant features on the map missing, like even say Madagascar or Hawaii. But I suppose those places don't create as much of a fuss as New Zealand does about this. There was a very interesting way that New Zealand also paid, I guess, homage to this problem, where on the New Zealand government website, on their 404 page, they would feature the world map, but New Zealand would be missing in it. And the
Okay.
tagline over there was something's missing.
Okay, they know how to take a joke. That's nice. That's very nice.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a brilliant question. I had no clue. Absolutely no clue. I did not know this was a thing at all. TIL for me today. Nice. Great question, yeah. I'm going to now move to something little historical. Have you heard of the mohor?
Not even at all, not ringing a bell.
I'm not surprised. The mohor is a gold coin that was formerly minted by several governments, including British India and some of the princely states which existed alongside it. The Mughal Empire, the Maratha Empire, the Kingdom of Nepal, and Persia, which was chiefly Afghanistan at this point, with regards to this coin. The mohor coin was first introduced by Sher Shah Suri during his rule in India between 1540 and 1545 and was then a gold coin weighing 169 grains, which is roughly around 10.95 grams. The double mohor, minted between 1835 and 1918 with a value of 30 rupees, is the highest denomination circulating coin issued till date. There has never been a coin with a higher denomination ever issued, before or after. An 1835 double mohor was sold at a Bangalore auction for 11.5 lakh rupees, which is roughly around 1.15 million rupees, making it the highest ever coin bid in India. The coin features a bare head of the king facing right, with William the Fourth King written around it, and the reverse side of the coin features a lion walking left with a tree behind it. Something which we see every day was inspired by this particular coin. What?
A lion walking towards the left and a tree behind him.
Yes. Because the lion has a mane, we can assume it's a male, so I'm going to allow that you called it a him and not an it.
That is true. Okay, so I'm just trying to picture this in my head. The lion is walking out of the frame towards the left, which means on the right side there is a tree. Am I correct?
Yeah, roughly around the right side, yeah.
Okay, and is this specific image what is in question here? Something that we see depicted wherever we do that
Yes.
lion image?
Not the lion image, but you're close.
Oh, not the lion image, but I'm close.
Not the lion, but you're close, yes.
So something walking towards the left, a tree on the right, something or someone walking towards the left. Give me a hint. I'm quite lost right now.
Oh, you would have to replace the lion with something that's more representative of India, and you have your answer.
So I did guess that much when he said it's not the lion but the image. I was trying to think of what else can I picture walking in that direction. Is it that doesn't seem to be the answer, but I'm just gonna take a guess. Is it the very famous image of Dandi March?
No, no, no.
Is a tree featured prominently in whatever the modern day image you're talking about?
Yes, the tree is featured quite prominently.
And something that is representative of India. Are we still talking feline species? Are we talking the tiger?
Yes, it is a tiger.
Oh, that was such a guess because I have no answer in head. A tiger.
Yeah.
Oh, is it on some currency right now? Is it on a coin right now?
There are coins with it, but not like currency coins. You are very close when you said currency. With the concept, you are very close with currency. There are coins which have this particular image on it, but they are not regular currency coin.
Very interesting. Currency, not regular coins, but some coins. No, I am still quite lost. I have only arrived at this by chance and by luck and fluke. So I have no.
Okay, so you would find this logo on certain government offices. I think they have branches in almost every city. So, like every major city, they'll have branches of this particular government office. That's my biggest clue.
Every major city will have offices for this particular government branch. In Bharat tourism, is it a tourism thing?
No, no, no. They were recently in the news also with regards to a particular app that everybody uses, especially in India.
App, Paytm,
Okay, so if it's Paytm, then
RBI.
yes, it's the logo for the Reserve Bank of India.
Oh, wow. No, sorry, drawing a blank.
Okay,
Quickly Google that image while you explain the answer.
yes. So the original logo, which was on the double moher, featured a lion with a tree behind it. So when they were looking for a logo of the RBI, because this coin has been issued by so many different kingdoms and so many different people over so many years, they thought this has value. And that particular image of the lion with the tree was replaced with that of a tiger, and the tree was made a palm tree. And that is the official logo of the Reserve Bank of India, which is the premier financial organization in India.
Cool. So I do have the image right in front of me, and now that I see it, it obviously rings a bell. Though I will say that in my head, I was picturing the lion somehow to my left and the tree to my right, whereas the logo, for any of our listeners who don't have it in front of them right now, is the tree in the background and the lion in the foreground. So by behind, you meant like in some
Yeah.
way it is superimposed on the tree. The image of the tiger.
The tiger is in front of the tree. Yes. Apologies if that came out incorrectly, but yeah.
No, I guess you described it correctly. I just pictured it wrongly in my head. Okay, lovely. That is a pretty cool question and, well, a good, useful reminder for me. I'll also take this opportunity to point out a little fun conversation I was having at a coffee shop where, well, I guess now that HK has been mentioned so many times, worth mentioning that he was visiting Mumbai. So he was visiting me. And we were at a coffee shop and we randomly bumped into a bunch of foreigners and we were talking about how there are so many words in Hindi which are transliteration of the English word that we have directly borrowed. And perhaps in quote unquote Shuddh Hindi or pure Hindi, there might be a word for that thing, but not in
Yes.
common usage. This particular Japanese lady, she mentioned that she has been trying to learn Hindi and she's now able to read Devanagari. So she was very curious to find out in the store names what is the translation of things. So when she saw the name of a bank, she was excited to see what it was in Hindi, and she was surprised to see that the bank in Hindi was also just spelled bank, or how hotel is spelled hotel, and how restaurant is just spelled restaurant. Very rarely do all of these outlets or spaces have the Hindi word for hotel or Hindi word for restaurant, Hindi word for bank, none of which, by the way, I'm very sure as to what they are. And at that point, HK very confidently said that, oh, you know what, let's find out together. And he pulled out his wallet and he thought that on the currency note, Reserve Bank of India in English, when written in Hindi, would be written in the proper word for bank. And turns out the currency note also says bank, just spelled in Devanagari script, but the word bank, the English word bank.
Did you ever figure out what it was actually called in Hindi? Now I'm curious.
We use Google Translate to find what bank is, and Google Translate said Kinara,
Okay, which I think is the riverbank.
river
Yeah,
bank. Yes. So we never found out and we kind of gave up. Yeah.
nice. If any one of our listeners can tell us what bank in Hindi, I know this is a very pathetic thing to ask, given that we're both Indians. But if any one of our listeners can tell us in Shuddh, pure Hindi, what the word bank would be, we'd be very grateful.
Or honestly, in any of the native languages, any of the Indian native languages, I'd be curious
Yeah.
to find out what bank is in Tamil or Punjabi or Assamese, whatever it is.
yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah, nice. You cracked that very quickly.
I did not crack that at all.
No, you did.
I just
Oh
got.
yeah, you did.
I just
Yeah, you came very close.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
I
you
came
came
very
very
close. I
close.
described it, but I don't think I cracked it. But Vineet, I think this goes to show what a lot of our listeners complain of, that we are very nice to each other. Even when we don't get the answer,
Yeah,
we credit each other. So thank you for that. Very undeserved credit. Okay.
yeah. Okay, very nice. So, what's your question?
All right. So you were talking about history in India, and I'm going to move to history in Europe. But I will start with some geography one more time. So there is a low mountain range in western Germany, also parts of eastern Belgium and northern Luxembourg. It is part of the Rhenish Massif, so goes through the Rhineland area, and it's
Mm-hmm.
part of the Rhenish Massif, which is a geologic massif again in the similar region, drained by the river Rhine, which is where it gets named from. This particular low mountain range, let's call it X, was a name that was adopted by two immigrants from the German town of Marmagen who settled in Paris. One of their future descendants made this name very famous through his work. So his work immortalized his name, and the name was originally used by his ancestors because they moved from Germany to Paris, and almost in an effort to remember or pay respect to where they had come from, they had chosen that particular name. So, do you know which mountain range I'm talking about, which lies in this particular region in Western Germany, Eastern Belgium, and Northern Luxembourg, that became famous through the name of a person and specifically his work a few decades later in Paris?
Wow. Because when you first started the question, I had a feeling where this may be going. So I had a guess in mind, and then now I have another guess. But now that you finished the question, I'm fairly sure that neither of these guesses are right.
Let's hear both of them.
But I'm just going to tell them anyway.
Yeah.
The first one I was thinking of was Alpenliebe. You were going with the chocolate toffee because Alpen, the Alps, that kind of something like that, maybe. But now I realize that's not it. The second I thought might be Toblerone, something to do with the Toblerone chocolates, because again, there's a mountain and a hidden bear in the logo. So I don't know, maybe that was what it is. But I think neither of these are right.
No,
Or am I close?
neither of the questions are right. You aren't even close. Though the only logical deduction from both of this is that you are having a sweet craving right now.
I actually have a packet of Maltesers sitting right here. An ex colleague came down from the UK and brought me a bag of mixed chocolates, including some Maltesers and Twix and Snickers and Galaxy. So I've been munching on those. So maybe that's why.
At this point, we should mention that we are not sponsored by any of these brands that we just mentioned.
Yes, but we would like to be. Okay, so it's nothing to do with food, I'm guessing, given the kind of reaction you had.
No, nothing to do with food at all.
Okay, so then my next guess, but again, doesn't make sense, would be Mont Blanc, the pen. But then that's the name of particular mountain, not a mountain range.
No, not Mont Blanc either.
The name of this mountain range and his work, you said, right? France, and what's the time frame you're talking about? When did this person do this particular work or his life's work?
So he was born somewhere close to mid 19th century, died in the first quarter of 20th century.
Mid 19th century, first quarter of the
Not
20th
even mid,
century.
it's
Wow.
1832. So, yeah. Born in 1832,
Okay.
died in,
Victorian times,
yeah.
basically. Wow, I'm just. Clue, please.
Okay. So his work is famous both in Paris and in New York.
Something to do with fashion?
No.
Because when you hear Paris and New York together, the first thing that comes is fashion. If you had said New York and London, I would have thought nylon, but then that has nothing to do with a. I'm okay. I'm rambling now.
Let me
Hmm.
try to help you because fashion is a good guess, but fashion is a generic word or a generic thing. I'm talking about something very specific in Paris and something very specific in New York.
Is it the Statue of Liberty?
You are very close, yes.
Wait, what? Okay, that was a shot in the dark. Wow, the Statue of Liberty, mountains. Is it the surname Eiffel or something like that? Something related to. I can't remember who the sculptor of the Statue of Liberty was.
You've gotten the
So,
answer already. Yeah, it is Eiffel.
oh, it's Eiffel. Oh, yes, nice. I'm going to claim credit for that.
You should.
Let's re-record that. Yes, yes, I knew it was Eiffel all along. Because.
Because obviously you're that smart. It is Gustave Eiffel, the very famous architect
Huh,
for the Eiffel Tower, who also had a
huh,
significant
huh.
contribution in the building of Statue of Liberty.
Okay.
Gustave Eiffel was born in France and was the first child of Catherine Mylène and Alexander Bonnicosson dit Eiffel. Now, his father's name was actually not originally Eiffel, as you would imagine. One of his forefathers was Jean René Bonnicosson, who had emigrated from the German town of Marmagen and settled in Paris at the beginning of the 19th century. The family adopted the name Eiffel as a reference to the Eiffel Mountains in the region from which they had come.
Oh,
So, going back to the original geography clue, Eiffel, but in this case spelled with a single F, is a low mountain range in western Germany, eastern Belgium, and northern Luxembourg. Turns out that Eiffel Tower, named after Gustav Eiffel, the word Eiffel itself is based off of a mountain range in Germany. So, Eiffel Tower is not even the first and perhaps larger of the Eiffels in Europe. The mountain range would claim that credit.
wow, nice. This is a follow-up question. Can you connect the Eiffel Tower, okay, and the time period you're talking about to a famous actress in the current day in India?
Wow. That was not where I expected that question to go at all. Because I do have a bunch of Eiffel Tower trivia that I came across when researching this factoid, but none of them had anything to do with Indian actors or actresses. But let's try.
Yeah.
Hmm. Is it by chance a Bollywood actor that we're talking about? Bollywood actress?
Yeah, I'm not restricted to, yeah, Bollywood, yes.
Predominantly Bollywood.
Yes, predominantly Bollywood.
This is so random, and I'm 100% it is not the answer, but I'm just going to share it. It is Shania Kapoor because there is an episode of.
Why?
I'll tell you why. Because there is an episode of The Fabulous Lives of Bollywood Wives. And in this particular episode, Sanjay Kapoor and Shania Kapoor and their mother are in Paris, and they're taking a selfie in front of the Eiffel Tower. And Sanjay Kapoor is very concerned whether Eiffel Tower is visible in the picture. And the way he says it is, and I'm going to say it in Hindi because it sounds hilarious. He says it is, अरे आईफिल टावर आ नहीं रहा फोटो में ढंग से लो वरना लगेगा लोखंड वाला में ले लिया है which basically translates
Oh
to please
God.
make sure that Eiffel Tower is visible in our selfie. Otherwise, people would assume we took it in this location in Mumbai called Lokhandwala, which is famous for celebrities and their houses and their residences. So he
Oh
wanted to
God.
make sure that the Eiffel Tower was visible in that selfie, which I thought was the funniest line of dialogue I've heard in a while. And Sanjay Kapoor, by the way, is hilarious in that show.
In general, I've heard he's a very self-aware person and quite self-aware of all the Kapoors, and he's quite a nice person.
Yeah, in that little glimpse I saw, I couldn't find anything wrong with him at all. I thought he was pitch perfect as the person he was. But obviously, Shania Kapoor is not the answer you're looking for.
Yes.
Oh boy, I have no clue.
So the connect, if you did not know, is the actress Kalki Kaklin.
Mm-hmm.
So Kalki Kaklin comes from the famous Kaklin family. Kaklin, I think it is pronounced, Kaklin family, who are originally from France.
Mm-hmm.
Her great grandfather's brother, if I'm not mistaken, was Maurice Kaklin, who was one of the chief structural engineers for the Eiffel Tower.
Wow, okay.
And he was also responsible for building the armature and the lamp of the Statue of Liberty.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So Kalki Kaklin comes from the Kaklin family through her father. And obviously, she was born in Pondicherry, which is a French enclave, right? And so she's a very famous actress in India. So she's descended of Maurice Kaklin, who was one of the chief structural engineers for the Eiffel Tower. So we have our own connection to the Eiffel Tower through Kalki. Fantastic actress, by the way.
Yeah, and a fantastic piece of trivia. Thank you for sharing that. All right, your question, Vineet.
Okay, so the last question for this week's episode. In 1967, the organizers of a performance in Cincinnati approached a man by the name of J. Paul Barnett to help out with the logistics. He had worked as a state trooper in his youth and had also been a teacher for a while. For about 80 years, the arrangement had been considered too difficult to get right. But where everyone else failed, Paul Barnett succeeded. He later helped with the performances all around the world, recreating the arrangement that had originally been intended. What exactly was Paul Barnett the first person to set up?
Could you hit me with the main facts again? Oh,
So there was a performance in 1967 in Cincinnati,
mm-hmm.
right? So the organizers wanted to get that performance accurate in the way that it was originally intended.
Okay.
And people had been trying for 80 years to do it in the way it had originally been intended, but nobody had succeeded until 1967 when Paul Barnett did. And then later, many times it has then been performed the way it was supposed to.
Wow. It was intended, it had never been performed. In only 1967 was it performed, I guess, as it was intended.
Yes.
No, you'll have to give me a hint.
Think classical music.
Is it an incomplete symphony or something like that?
Not a symphony, but yeah, it's a complete piece of music. It was something that was written, I wouldn't say under duress, but let's say that the composer wasn't particularly interested or he did not particularly like the piece that he made, but it turned out to be one of his most famous works. And one of the things that he wanted done was not possible at the time, the way he imagined it. And it finally happened that way only in 1967.
The description of the artist in question makes me think Mozart.
No, not Mozart.
Okay, because I was thinking some sort of tortured genius.
No, he wasn't a tortured genius of any kind. He was a genius, but not a tortured one.
Okay.
And everybody's, I think, heard this piece of music. If you're in the United States, you've definitely heard this. If you watch movies or TV shows, this comes up quite a lot, even though you may not be aware that this is what it's called.
This has nothing to do with the American national anthem, right?
No, but it is now almost a common accompaniment for a very patriotic celebration in America.
Huh. Can you give me an era as to when this original composer was from?
Okay, so the music, as I mentioned, had debuted in the 1880s,
Okay.
but the inspiration for this went back another maybe like 70 years, 65, 70 years.
Wow. No, I thought that might help me, but it doesn't at all.
I'll give you one more clue. In a recent episode, I'm not going to mention which one, but in a recent episode, we have come across this composer specifically from one of your questions.
Interesting. It was an answer to one of my questions.
Yes. You can also hear it in the movie Sonic the Hedgehog. If you had watched the launch webcast for the Electro L4 satellite by the Russian Space Agency in 2022, they had used this music in the background.
Russian makes me think then Tchaikovsky?
Yes, it is Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky. Can you tell me which piece we are talking about?
It has to be one of Tchaikovsky's overtures. I No, I would be hard pressed to remember the exact name though.
Okay, so Tchaikovsky has mainly four big works that people remember.
Hmm.
Obviously, the Nutcracker, which was mentioned in a previous question by Aditya,
Hmm.
Sleeping Beauty, Swan Lake, and the most famous of all of this, arguably, is the 1812 Overture.
Hmm. All right, that's the name. Yeah, I was thinking of that. I couldn't remember the exact name. Yeah.
I'm going to add a piece of the overture itself after the end of this question, after we finish discussing the question, so our audience can also kind of get that aha movement when they hear it. And luckily for us, it's not copyrighted, so yay.
Awesome.
So, what exactly did, now coming back to the question, what exactly did Paul Barnett do that helped the organizers of this particular performance in Cincinnati of the 1812 Overture do? That Tchaikovsky originally wanted done in a specific way, but he wasn't able to. It took 80 years before they were able to bring his vision to fruition.
Did he want it to be played in a certain specific, I guess, concert hall or a specifically designed concert hall?
No, no. Okay. So, I'll basically give you the answer.
Hmm.
The 15-minute overture, it's best known for its climactic, piece of music,
Hmm.
right? The climax of the music is what it's most famous for. And that is actually a volley of cannon fire, ringing chimes, and a brass fanfare finale.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh.
And Tchaikovsky actually had planned, when he had envisioned this whole composition, he had planned to use an electric switch panels to fire cannons outside the opera house to achieve the precision that the musical score required.
Wow.
But it was not able to be done that way, and he never got to see it performed the way he had envisioned it. And that was implemented only in 1967. So the final climax of the music has cannons, as actual cannons, as musical instruments.
Are you implying that Cincinnati in 1967 just fired cannons for this particular performance?
Yes, they did.
Wow. Okay.
And they not only did it that way, they used an electric switch panel the way that Tchaikovsky had wanted it. The piece commemorates Russia's successful defense of the French invasion of the country by Napoleon in 1812. It has become a very common accompaniment to fireworks displays on the US Independence Day, July the 4th.
Right.
And it has become one of the four most popular works that Tchaikovsky is famous for, which include The Nutcracker, Sleeping Beauty, Swan Lake, and the 1812 Overture, which I will play now.
Pretty cool. That was a very fun piece of trivia. I loved it.
So that's the end of the regular questions for today. Aditya, what's your question for this week?
Oh, my question is very simple. Which Indian famous monument or landmark is named after another geographical feature, just like the Eiffel Tower is named after the Eiffel Mountains in a roundabout way? And that's the answer you'll find out in next week's episode.
Okay, nice. I had asked a question at the beginning of today's episode. The Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya is located on the campus of a particular academy, which is in Baroda. The property comprising of 55 acres of garden and wooden land with a lot of peacocks and migratory birds. The basic question was, in which academy campus is this university, that is the Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya, located? What is unique about it and how does it connect to our podcast? Any ideas, Aditya?
In Baroda,
Yes.
not sure what famous educational institutions are in
Can you
Baroda.
take a guess? Can you take a guess? It's called the Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya. So,
Gati Shakti, which is speed and power. No, I'm very lost.
okay. So I'll tell you first what's unique about it. It is the first and only university in India exclusively focused on transport related education.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
So that's one part of the question answers. What's unique about it? In which academy campus is this university located? So, which academy campus and how is it connected to this podcast?
Academy campus in Baroda. Again, Baroda is what is throwing me off. I don't know of many famous academies in Baroda.
I'll give you one clue before I give the answer. Think Indian Railways.
The Academy of the Railways? No, I don't know. I have no idea.
Oh, you're very close. So, it is the National Academy of Indian Railways.
Okay.
Now, tell me how it connects to this podcast. I'm channeling you now, right now.
The National Academy of Indian Railways is Nair, which is obviously the.
Yes! So, the NAIR, pronounced Nair, National Academy of Indian Railways, is the location of the Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya. And my name also happens to be Vineet Nair.
Mhm.
No relation, but still, I thought it was fun.
Oh, you're not named after the Academy of Indian Railways, Vinny?
No.
This would have been a great question to ask for your birthday special episode, which was 2 episodes ago. Lovely piece of trivia nonetheless. All right.
So, any pop culture recommendations for this week, Aditya?
I caught the movie Three of Us recently. I believe I have already recommended it in the past, but if I haven't, I'm going to say it again. The movie The Father. Two really good movies,
Yes, you
and
have recommended. Yeah.
both of these movies deal with dementia. The Father, in which Anthony Hopkins deservedly got an Oscar for his portrayal of somebody going through Alzheimer's disease. A lovely, beautiful film. And Three of Us, a woman played pitch perfect by Shifali Shah, as she does most of her roles, of a woman going through dementia. And both of these movies just gut wrenching, heart wrenching, and lovely pieces of cinema talking about something so difficult and rarely talked about, and yet handled with finesse and beauty. So check out both these films. A double recommendation for The Father and a very strong first recommendation for Three of Us.
Very nice. My recommendation, which it was pointed out to me that even though I'm a big fan of this, I've never actually recommended it on the podcast, which I find a little weird that I haven't done so before. So I'm going to make good on that. Is that there is a show on Netflix called Love, Death and Robots. Yeah, it is a fantastic anthology series. There's no one specific genre. There's comedy, there's horror, there's science fiction, there's fantasy. The only thing is there is some form of robotics or science fiction element to some of those. But it's just a fantastic show. The animation is, there are some shots in this which are much better animated than many of these 200 million dollar movies. It's just fantastic, and it's definitely has to be on everybody's watch list.
And just to add on to that, Love, Death, and Robots is obviously a phenomenal series that anybody and everybody with access to Netflix should check out. Vineet mentioned that it's animation. All of the episodes are actually different sorts and different types of animation, and I believe done by different directors and filmmakers. So you'll get a flavor of different filmmakers and different animation with each episode, each one somehow better than the previous.
And while some of it looks like animation, there was one particular episode called Jibaro, which is set in an alternate timeline with conquistadors in Central and South America. And frankly, for the first few seconds or first few minutes of it, I thought it was they had somehow shot it.
Live action. Yeah.
It was so photorealistic. And then when the visuals started getting crazy is when I realized ki this is animated. So that's all for this episode. Thank you all for listening in. We hope you enjoyed the show and learned something new. If you like what you heard, please consider subscribing to our podcast and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform, wherever you're listening to us. It helps us reach a wider audience and allows more people to discover and enjoy the show. So take a few seconds after you listen to this to subscribe to our podcast and hit the notification icon. Right? We'd also love to hear from you. Feedback, suggestions, trivia. If you have questions which you want us to ask on the show, just send us an email at areyouquizzingme@gmail.com and put the name of the quizmaster who you want to ask the question in the subject line. You can reach us on Instagram at areyouquizzingme. We appreciate your support and look forward to sharing more episodes with you in the future. Thank you again for tuning in. Have a great day.
See you guys next week.